Alright, this is Mrs. Short and I'm going to go over multiplying and dividing rational expressions with you. So let's get started with the first problem. So in this problem we're trying to multiply these two fractions, but before you multiply, just like with any fractions when you were in elementary school, you would rather reduce or cancel before you multiply. So to do that in Algebra 2 problems, you have to have everything factored. So I'm going to start by factoring this guy right here. I'm going to this is a difference of two squares, so when I factor it, I'm going to break the 25 into 5 and 5, and then remember that the 16 breaks into 4x and 4x, and 1 plus and 1 minus. All right, so that multiplies back to 25 minus 16x squared. I know this looks like backwards to you, but you just need to leave it backwards for the time being. All right, the other numerator, x plus 2, luckily that's all set. Now, this guy right here, he's especially difficult because not only does it factor, but it also has all divides by 3. So I'm going to pre-pull out the 3. If I pull out a 3, that leaves me with 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. So now I have to factor that. The 3 will remain outside, and then factor the 2x squared part, so 2x squared and x. So I have a 2 on the end. I need to make the last piece multiply to 2. So I can't put a 2 with the 2x squared because 2 goes into 2 and I can't have a common factor anymore. So I need to put the 2 here and the 1 there. So you see that I'm making a 4. Oops, I see a little mistake. Sorry, that was just a 2x, not 2x squared. So I'm making a 4x now and a 1x. Well, that makes 5x if everything's positive. Okay, there we go. All right, over here, this 4x squared minus 7x minus 15. So here is difficult because, 4x squared, that could be 2x and 2x, or it might be 4x and x, you never know. So let's see. If I look around my problem, I notice that I have these 5 plus 4x up top over on the left-hand side from the first part that I factored. So I'm going to go with this scenario here because, in these problems, usually you want something to factor, and so let's see whoever set this up, which was me, could have a 4x there. So I need a 4x here and an x there. Now 15, about 5 and 3. So I think if I put the 5 here and the 3 there, look what happens. This is 12x and this is 5x, which can get me a negative 7 if the 12 is negative and the 5 is positive. So this is negative, positive. All right, so give me a second to get rid of some of this extra stuff that I don't need. All right, now we start our cancellations. So when I'm canceling, I look for any matches. X plus 2 matches x plus 2. 4x plus 5 down here exactly matches 5 plus 4x. Even though they're written like backwards, addition is commutative, so you can just write it any way you want. And I think that's it. That's all that cancels. So what I have left in the numerator is 5 minus 4x. In the denominator, I have a 3 and a 2x plus 1 and an x minus 3. Now you could multiply out the denominator, but we can also just leave it like this. And there's our answer. All right, in this next problem, notice this is a complex fraction. It is one fraction with a fraction in the numerator and a fraction in the denominator. So what you're essentially doing here, if I do an easier problem, let's say you had 2/3 divided by 5 over 4. So, you could write that as 2/3 divided by 5/4, which would turn into 2/3 times 4/5, because remember with division, you multiply by the reciprocal. So look what happened there. This fraction in the denominator basically kind of flipped up and multiplied by the numerator. So that's what we're going to do. We're not going to keep writing this over and over again. We're just going to know that this fraction in the denominator flips up and multiplies by the numerator. So here we go. So I have 4 minus x over 28, x to the 12th, times, this becomes 7x to the 3rd in the numerator and x minus 4 in the denominator. All right. Now, these two items will cancel out. They are the reverse of each other, And when you have reverse subtraction, that means that when you cancel them, you get -1. Just like if you had something like this. If you had like 10 minus 2 divided by 2 minus 10, it doesn't matter what the items are. If they're the opposite type of subtraction, one's going to give you a positive, the denominator is going to give you a negative, and a positive divided by a negative, the same number, would be -1. Okay, so that's the idea we're going off there. All right, so the 7 and the 28. So 7 reduces with 28. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 28 divided by 7 is 4. So I'm going to write this problem now because it's getting kind of messy. So in the numerator I have -1, so negative x to the third. And the denominator I have 4x to the 12th. So when I look at this now, the only thing left to reduce is the x's. So 3x is in the numerator, 12 in the denominator. 3 minus 12 is -9. So I cancel these, and this becomes 9 left. So I have -1 over 4x to the 9th. All right. Okay, I think I have one more problem. Yes, a division problem. So the division, remember this back fraction is going to flip over because we're multiplying by the reciprocal. All right. So, but we need to get started factoring first. So before I do anything else, let's look at this guy right here. That guy right there, he all divides by 3. So I'm going to factor out a 3 so that later when I go and I'm sorry, not a 3, a 2, right? I'm going to take out a 2 so I'm ready to work with it. So I get 3x squared. 16 divided by 2 is -8x, and then minus 3. All right, so here we go. So x squared minus 36, that would be x plus 6 and x minus 6 times, it's going to flip up, so this thing in red here, 2, and then I have to factor that. That's 3x and 3 to make this 3x squared. And in the back I need a 3, so, oh my goodness, 3x and x. Sorry about that. And so in the back I need a 3. So I'm going to have to put the 3 here because I can't put it with this 3x in the front. So 3 times 1. So the outside gets me 9 and the inside gets me 1. So if I make my 9 negative and my 1 positive, that'll get me my -8x. All right. Underneath that, I have this x squared plus 10x plus 24. So everything's positive. So I know it's x plus and x plus. So the only thing that multiplies to 24 and adds up to 10 is 6 and 4. 12 and 2 won't work because they would have to subtract, so I need a negative, and I don't have one. All right, over on the left-hand side, this guy. They have a common factor, so this is a different kind of factoring. I'm just going to pull out a 10x, which would leave me an x minus 3 when I divide the 10x out. All right, now comes the fun part. I'm gonna start canceling. All right, so hopefully you can see that x minus 3's cancel, x plus 6's cancel. Oh, one more thing. The 2 reduces with a 10 to make a 5, and you can put a 1 there if you like, but really you don't need to. All right, so here's my answer. On the numerator, I have x minus 6 and also 3x plus 1. In the denominator, I have 5, an x, and an x plus 4. And again, you could multiply that out, but it's also perfectly fine to leave your answer like that. Alrighty, that's it. Bye-bye.